Life is so much easier with a great sense of humor, and no one ever said it had to be rated PG. Sometimes it feels good to let out our inner smartass and drop a few F-bombs. Smartass and Sass is a subscription box meant for unashamed mouthy mofos. Get your fix of brazen humor each month.
Each box consists of one Smart and Sass t-shirt, between 7 and 9 unique items like mugs, lipsticks, posters, etc., and it's valued at $90. I'm currently using my little miniature office supply kit. I love miniature things. It's got some staples, some post-it notes, paper clips, and on the front it says, per my last email, which is one of my favorite way to begin emails in a passive-aggressive form.
100%. And it's so great because it's great on the go. You can stick it right in your backpack and take it with you. It also came with a little productivity pad that I've been using. It's pretty cool. Use code CREEPY for 15% off first-time subscription, and shop orders cannot be combined with any other offer, one-time use only. And follow Smartass and Sass on social media for your daily dose of attitude. A college town is shocked by the heinous and violent murder of one of the city's most beloved journalists. For 2 years, the case was cold until an unlikely pair of suspects emerged. The only problem, there was no evidence linking either of them to the crime. Still, one of them confessed, leading to a years-long battle for justice. This week's episode is The Wrongful Conviction of Ryan Ferguson, Part 1.
A bump in the night, your heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to who? Sinisterhood.
Saw a documentary on this and immediately messaged you and said, this is wild. We got to cover this.
And whenever I turned it on, I told you, just a warning for everybody. If you want to go watch.
That was my bad. My B.
No worries. I mean, I think you know me, that I don't have any kind of, I can look at pretty heinous things and it doesn't necessarily impact me. But I turned it on with Leanne and Paris in the room. And the first maybe 3 minutes, there is graphic crime scene footage.
Very graphic.
It's not really blurred out. And
No.
so I would warn you, if you go watch Dream Killer, which is a phenomenal documentary. I cried multiple times, I think, because I'm also reading Actual Innocence, the book. And it just is another incidence of all the same patterns that happen in these cases. But it was a phenomenal documentary. It's, warms the heart after
Those three. It was shocking to me that it just opened with that.
Yes.
And there was no... the following images may be upsetting to some viewers or something like that. So, yeah. And I even mentally was like, oh, I need to give a trigger warning to Heather when I tell her about this. And then I totally forgot. And now Leanne is scarred for life.
Well, and it's not even your fault, too. Netflix, Paris goes, hang on. He took the remote and he rewound it. And at the top, at the beginning when the Netflix logo pops up and it says warning in the top right corner, and it'll be like graphic image. This one just said language and smoking.
Oh, they needed
Paris goes,
graphic imagery.
They left one. Yeah, they left one out that it was like violence.
Yeah.
Because there's also graphic descriptions of violence. And I mean, that comes along with the territory of, true crime and covering a case. But in this case, it was more than just describing what happened or showing on a model. It was the actual footage, which I think it was quite shocking.
It was, yes, and it can be quite triggering. So if you do go watch it, heads up that is in the very first couple of minutes. But then it becomes a very... heart-wrenching tale of a father's determination and struggle to free his son that he knows did not commit the crime that he's been accused of. And it is quite remarkable what a parent will do for their kid when they are in prison for murder and they know that they didn't do it.
No, you're completely right. As any parent, I'm sure, would do if you thought that you could save your child. Bill Ferguson becomes an expert in all this. And I think what made me cry is and I think I told you this, I just kept thinking he shouldn't have to.
Oh,
like,
right.
he shouldn't have to learn this. He shouldn't have to put his career on hold. He shouldn't have to travel the country. He shouldn't have to become an expert in constitutional law and criminal procedure and knowing the case upside down, left, right, back and forth, because he becomes like a literal expert on this. And I'm like, he should be going on trips with his son. They should be playing basketball together. They should be having Thanksgiving. He did it willingly, I'm sure. I mean, he was happy to do it to try to help, but you shouldn't have to.
No. And I think while most parents would want to do that, a lot of parents wouldn't, not because they wouldn't want to, but because they just wouldn't know how to go about it, and they wouldn't have the means or the knowledge. So the fact that he really was like, well, he said that the day after he got, convicted, he's like, I got to get busy. And it was just nose to the grindstone from then on out. And he was a tenacity that was very admirable. So.
And also, like you said, not many people have the means. He was a real estate agent, so able to work when he wanted to, take time off, takes time to do it, have the resources to do all this. And not everybody, tons of people are languishing in jail that their family members just have to, straight up can't do that.
Yeah, for sure.
None of them should have to.
No, but thank goodness that Bill Ferguson did, because otherwise Ryan would still be sitting in prison.
Yep. Absolutely.
For a crime he did not commit. And this documentary really just shows how easy it is to be minding your own business, and the next thing you know, you're in jail for something you didn't do. I was watching it and I was just thinking, man, the cops could just knock on my door right now and say, hey, we heard that you were with such and such. We need you to come down to the station and answer some questions. And that could be the last time I see my kids and husband.
So I did in advance of this, I did a survey of my attorney friends and just started sending texts. And I just said, hey, would you just talk to the cops? If they said that you were, they were questioning you regarding a homicide, would you talk to the cops alone? And the responses I got were no, hell no, fuck no, LOL. And why are you asking me this? You know the answer. So there's, at all times, I always say, get a lawyer.
Oh, 100%.
I am a lawyer. Get a lawyer. And if anybody tells you only guilty people get lawyers, they're full of shit. And go, my friend Heather is a lawyer, and she told me that's not true and that I should have my attorney there. I haven't killed anybody. And if somebody knocked on my door right now and said, come down to the station, I would say, I'm not coming willingly. Am I being detained? And if they arrest me and take me down, I am zipping my lip. You can scream in my face. You can say anything to me. I am not saying anything until until my attorney comes. Where you get into an issue is somebody is 19.
Yeah.
Somebody has a history of substance use issues.
17 at the time.
Well, 19 when they're arrested, and has an issue of substance use, has been using that day, so their inhibitions are lowered. You get me after some MCs, you never know. I mean, probably I think my instincts would kick in, but you never know. I have a couple of Palomas, some MCs.
Right.
Things start to get wild.
Or you just, and the cops know what they're doing. They're using fear tactics. They are screaming in your face. They're threatening you. They're lying to you. Telling you your friends in the other room, they're about to flip on you. Your ass is on the chopping block for this. You're terrified. You're young.
Or they come in with a police report that goes, look at this statement that says you admitted it to your friend. It's an official police report that we wrote that you don't know it's a lie.
And all of that is somehow legal?
Well, they got sued real hard for it. So, I just sat through, it was a little bit older, maybe like 2 or 3 years older, but a CLE on Brady, which is, we'll get into that in part 2. It's real legally part 2, but it was actually put on by the Texas Police Chiefs Association. And Art Acevedo, who is the former police chief of Austin, was one of the presenters. He went to Miami and they had some issues, yada, yada. But he was like, for a while, he was kind of in the news a lot as being a really progressive police chief. And he said in his statement, in his speech, and the whole thing was about turn over exculpatory evidence to defense attorneys. You're a state actor, police officers, turn it over, turn it over, turn it over. Anything that could possibly, your burden, the state's burden of proof is so high, anything that could help the defense, you have to turn it over. It's under the Constitution. And he said, and I love the quote, he just said, we're not here to make arrests and to get convictions. We're here to find out the truth. Mm-hmm. And you need to remember, it's not do anything possible to get that conviction. It is, we're here to find the truth, turn it over to the defense attorney so that everybody's on equal footing and we can all find the truth together. And I think I like that idea. That's the important, I think, a new progressive way of policing, not just like, we'll just make up whatever and just get whoever. Because now the victim's family is completely screwed. Well, not completely, but I would say at an extreme disadvantage because of what has been found by a civil court at the very least to be nasty, nasty tactics.
Mm-hmm. And then, like with all wrongful convictions, a killer is still out there.
Mm-hmm. And you undermine everybody's faith in the system, everybody's faith in the prosecutor, who's now a judge, everybody's faith in the police department, which hopefully they've had some, revamping of their practices since this incident, because it's definitely never fun to get sued for millions of dollars for what you've done.
No, that's never happened to me either, but I don't want any of these things happening to me. None of the stuff that's happened, except maybe go on The Amazing Race.
I would do want to do that, but you steal a decade from one person and now going on almost 2 decades from another person. So,
yeah. Well, we're going to get into all of this, 2 parts. We're going to get into the background of these guys and the actual night of the murder in this one. And then the second episode will be a lot of legal stuff because there were multiple trials and multiple appeals. And then our favorite criminal defense attorney gets involved.
Oh, big fan. Big fan.
Kathleen Zellner. Super badass. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get into it. Ryan Ferguson was born in the Northern Territory of Australia on October 19th, 1984. His parents, Bill and Leslie Ferguson, had met over a decade earlier while attending the University of Missouri in 1972. After graduation, the two married and began their life together. They wanted to travel the world and decided to fly overseas. They rented a car in Amsterdam and set out on the adventure of a lifetime. After spending a year in Africa, the Fergusons found themselves teaching at an indigenous village in Australia. It was here that their daughter Kelly was born. A few years later, Ryan was born in Northern Australia.
Man, they lived a life back then.
Dude, just going... I am always so awe-inspired and envious of people that are like, yeah, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's just go over there. We'll figure it out. I mean, we'll work when we need where we need to. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he lied to a company that repaired boats and said he was a welder, so he could just I mean, we'll probably figure it out. It's fine.
Yeah, you just hold the metal fire against the metal and wear a mask.
And then they were like, we could be a teacher at some villages and stuff. And they were kind of traveling through Australia and ran across a village that needed some, so they stopped there and. Then your daughter's born. I mean, like, that is all very courageous stuff to do just when you're traveling overseas in a foreign country. And what a cool childhood for your kids, too, there's pictures in the documentary where Kelly's just, in a backpack on Bill's back and they're out in Australia. Just, I mean, those are core memories of that shape you and, like, give you an experience that most kids do not have.
Oh, yeah, and the pictures look like postcards. They're just standing in the middle of a postcard. But they just would go, well, we'll drive. The truck broke down, so we stopped, and we got a job so that we could make money to fix the truck. And I'm like, you should go where the wind takes you.
Leslie Ferguson told the documentarians of Dream Killer that Ryan was...
a real easy kid to raise.
She went on to say that Ryan...
was such a loving child. He would just come and sit on your lap and be comfortable there.
Even during his teenage years, when most kids his age would find it embarrassing to show their parents' affection, Ryan didn't, according to Leslie.
Ryan never really went through that. He would always give us a hug. A lot of kids his age wouldn't do that.
Bill and his son were especially close. As a child, Ryan often accompanied Bill on his work trips. The two went camping, fishing, skydiving, and traveled around the world together. Bill told filmmakers.
Ryan was a very curious young man. He was very fit. He was a great physical specimen.
And that did not change.
Yeah, it couldn't be said. I mean, he's just personality-wise fantastic. But yeah, he was athletic guy.
He's
still is.
I mean, we can say it. There's nothing wrong with saying he is very hot.
He's very attractive. He's a handsome guy.
He's a very hot guy. Yeah.
He's works out a lot. And then, like I was telling Christy, the personality behind it too.
Yes.
Like a good heart, loves his parents, loves his family.
That's
kept his head above water.
The most attractive. Yes,
loves
for
to
sure.
read. Yeah. Oh yeah. 10 out of 10.
Very smart.
But him and his dad, that was their big thing, was they play basketball together.
Yes, yeah. And seeing the two of them in the home videos of skydiving and just being so excited, and afterwards Bill just goes up to him and gives him a hug. He's like, I've always wanted to do that with you, buddy. Just, I mean, the bond between them was so strong, and it only increased once he was in prison because his dad just, I mean, worked day and night to get him out. Yeah. As did his mom, too.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's funny because you can't say, oh, one is more helpful than the other, because they both took kind of different roles. Of his dad took okay, when I'm upset, I work and I'm more productive. And she was a lot more wanting to like be empathetic with him, bring him his favorite treats. Like, so they each kind of took a different role that, I mean, I think were equally important.
Absolutely. Ryan attended Rockbridge High School in Columbia, Missouri. His former childhood friend, Charles Erickson, also went to school there. The two had been close as kids, but had drifted apart by their high school years. In later testimony, Ryan referred to Charles as
an odd man.
On October 31st, 2001, Ryan and Charles's paths happened to cross at a party. They were both 17 years old and juniors at Rockbridge High. Like so many others in the college town of Columbia, both guys were making the rounds to different Halloween parties. When the cops showed up and shut the festivities down early, Ryan offered Charles a ride. He was headed to a bar called By George and asked if Charles wanted to come along. Ryan had no way of knowing that this kind gesture would forever change the trajectory of his life.
Yeah, it was a pretty wild Halloween night for Charles. He, I mean, they were both
partying.
Well, and they were both about 5'6", weighed like 150 pounds. So drinks are going to start hitting you. He was smoking marijuana about 3 or 4 times a day. He told folks that he was snorting Adderall, snorting cocaine, would use LSD, would use mushrooms, was binge drinking. So it wasn't kind of like, hey, let's go out on Halloween. Maybe we'll have 1 or 2 Jell-O shots. He was going hard.
Yeah, and he had been having substance abuse issues since he was 14.
Yeah.
So for several years, this was kind of how he had been living.
And at that party, he said he snorted Adderall at that party and was also drinking.
Mm-hmm. And on cocaine, yes.
And yeah.
Charles accepted the invitation and the two headed to By George. Despite being underage, they were granted access to the bar by the bouncer around 11:30 p.m. with the help of Ryan's older sister, Kelly. Once inside, Kelly bought the minors some drinks, an act that would later consume her with guilt. Ryan told 48 Hours that while he had a few drinks inside the bar, he was not drunk. Charles, on the other hand, was. He was also using cocaine and Adderall. Charles would later say that the combination of drugs and alcohol caused him to black out, a dangerous side effect that can occur from excessive drinking, where the person is still awake but is unable to create new memories.
And I imagine if you're on Adderall and cocaine, your body is going 100% and your mind is just shut off, which I think there's like a whole, I can't remember what stand-up comedian, but he talks about living that life of like you've now pumped your body up so where you're moving, it's like a puppet, but there's nothing going on.
Yeah, you're
mixing
ears. Uppers and downers. Mm-hmm. So it's a wild ride. I have been blackout drunk before, and it
100%.
Yeah, it's one of the main reasons I stopped drinking. I'll have a drink occasionally, but excessive drinking, there is, apart from just feeling like shit the next day, to not remember what happened is a very, very unsettling and scary feeling, and I hated it. I would absolutely hate having to ask Tommy or someone the next day, like, did I do anything stupid last night? Mm-hmm. You know, and or just that shame you feel the next day of like, fuck, I know that I said some stuff that I shouldn't have, but I can't remember what it was. Like, and you just get these bits and pieces of the night. And I mean, it's horrifying to think like I was wide awake and talking to people and I have no idea what was going on.
No recollection.
No memory of it. Yeah.
Rife for being taken advantage of in a myriad ways. And I think, like you said, you feel shitty the next day emotionally, but also physically. But also to me, I'm like, surely, I don't listen, I'm not a brain scientist, but I'm like, surely that's not good for my brain.
No, I can't imagine that it is. And sometimes I wonder, is that one reason I don't have a good memory? Like, because of like, I mean, I don't think I've ever permanently damaged my, but you don't know, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's It's a weird thing, the brain, and something that I don't want to mess with my brain. So that's one reason I stopped drinking in excess. But, when I was 17, that was not the case. So I fault him not at all.
Well, and I think you don't do it because you think this is good for my brain.
No.
Like he clearly had substance use issues
Yes.
where it was an addiction situation, but it definitely leaves you. In this case, we'll see long-lasting impacts of what happened.
Missouri state law and city ordinance requires that all bars close at 1:30 a.m. By George announced last call around 1 a.m., and Ryan and Charles headed out at approximately 1:15. Cell phone records show that Ryan called his sister from the parking lot at 1:18 a.m. He then drove Charles home, dropping him off around 1:30. After that, Ryan headed home himself. Cell phone records show he made a few more calls between 1:41 a.m. and 2:09 a.m. He then went to bed. A pretty standard ending to a pretty standard Halloween night.
And these are important at later, when you try to establish a timeline. But in his mind, he wasn't like, I'm going to make these calls to show where I'm at.
No.
He's just living his life, making phone calls, not even thinking about it. But it's stamped in cell phone records. I mean, we have hard evidence of what happened. And also as far as we went and hung out at the bar after 1:30. No, you didn't. It closes at 1:30. They all do.
They have record that it has. By George was subpoenaed and said in their however many years they'd been open, they'd never once closed after 1:30. I mean, bars get fined for that. You can't do that. So, yeah, all of these timestamps become extremely important when putting together who could have been where when this crime went down.
Sinisterhood will be right back. We're recording early in the morning today,
man,
and
we are.
we feel great because we both got great night's sleeps on our Helix.
And I'll tell you what, I am going to be taking a nap after we hit that stop button because I am very tired, and not because I didn't get a good night's sleep, because I was sleeping so hard when that baby woke me up this morning that I was like, oh, I just want to stay in my Helix mattress. And that is because Helix Sleep has a quiz that takes just 2 minutes to complete and matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. So my mattress is perfect for me.
That's why you sleep hard. I took the quiz. I got matched with a Moonlight Luxe mattress because I wanted something that felt soft but offered support. I sleep on my back, stomach, and sometimes side, but mostly my back. And man, I sink right into that baby.
Just go to helixsleep.com/creepy. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz, and they'll match you to a customized mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life.
Helix is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners at helixsleep.com/creepy.
That's helixsleep.com/creepy for up to $200 off and 2 free pillows. Ella is loving her Haya vitamins. I'll tell you what, she likes the lemon a lot. It's not an easy thing to get a kid to be excited about vitamins, but Haya knows how to do it.
Well, I mean, I'm never excited about my vitamins until I know that they're going to be flavored. So I get where she's coming from. And actually, 93% of kids don't eat enough fruit and vegetables, but Haya fills in the most common gaps in modern children's diets to provide full body nourishment your kid needs with the yummy taste sounds like she loves.
Haya is supercharged with 15 essential vitamins and minerals known to help support a healthy immune system, energy levels, brain function, mood, teeth, bones, and more.
We've worked out a special offer with Haya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order.
To claim this deal, go to hayahealth.com/creepy or enter code creepy at checkout.
That's HIYAHEALTH.com/creepy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Full discount applied at checkout. Public Goods is the one-stop shop for sustainable, high-quality, everyday essentials made from clean ingredients at an affordable price. Everything from coffee to toilet paper and shampoo to pet food. Public Goods is your new everything store, thoughtfully designed for the conscious consumer.
Rather than buying from a bunch of single product brands, Public Goods members can buy all of their premium essentials in one place with one beautiful, streamlined aesthetic.
I love the fancy soap. It like looks fancy, but it's such a good price. But it's just very sleek and classy. And I will tell you, I'll huff that dish soap all day long. Paris cooks, I clean-ish sometimes. But I'm happy to do my dishes because I can just smell the good soap.
It all looks so nice.
And burn that candle.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite candle. We've worked out an awesome deal. Receive $15 off your first Public Goods order with no minimum purchase.
That's right. They're so confident that you'll absolutely love their products and come back again and again. They're giving you $15 to spend on your first purchase.
You have nothing to lose. Just go to publicgoods.com/creepy or use code creepy at checkout.
That is publicgoods.com/creepy to receive $15 off your first order.
Around the same time Ryan was going to bed, Kent Heitholt, sports editor for the Columbia Tribune, shut off his work computer in his office at 2:08 a.m. Colleague Michael Boyd was the last known person to see Heitholt alive. Boyd was sitting in his car adjusting his radio when he saw Kent leaving the office. Boyd claims he chatted with Heitholt about work for about 3 to 5 minutes. According to Boyd, he then drove away around 2:20 a.m., leaving Heitholt in the parking lot, alive and alone. When driving down an adjacent alleyway, Boyd later told police he passed 2 people walking, startling him so much that he nearly hit them.
Well, and it's hard to remember what exactly happened. So Boyd said, well, we were talking outside the cars. Then he said, well, no, I pulled around and it was through my window. And then he said, well, no, it was through the other window. But regardless, he said, no, we talked. We talked for about 5 minutes.
Yep. Around 2:20 a.m., Shauna Ornt, a janitor for the Tribune at the time, stepped outside for a cigarette break. She noticed that Kent's car was still in the parking lot and that the driver's side door was open. Shauna told 48 Hours.
I had a gut feeling something was wrong.
She called for her supervisor, Jerry Trump. Her suspicions were confirmed when she and Jerry saw 2 shadowy figures hovering over something on the ground near Kent's car. One of the men ran off. The other looked right at Shauna and yelled,
"Someone's hurt out here, man."
Shauna told 48 Hours that the young man then casually walked away.
Well, that's your worst nightmare, walking out of your office at 2 a.m. that anyone's in the parking lot.
And your colleague is laying on the ground in a very bloody fashion. Yes, it's terrifying.
Well, yeah, you just expect it's nothing, and then it's the worst nightmare version of something.
Yes, and very quickly. I mean, he leaves his office around 2:08. It's a short walk to the parking lot. By 2:20, this has happened. So it was
that's such a short time.
Very, very short time frame for something like this to happen. Panicked, Trump called 911 at 2:26 a.m. He said he could not identify any facial characteristics of either man. He noted one of them wore a baseball cap, pushed back far enough for him to see the man's spiky blonde hair underneath. They were both younger white males, around 6 feet tall. When officers arrived and interviewed Ornt, she told police she saw the man standing near the back of the vehicle.
Really good.
She later provided police with a good enough description to make a composite sketch.
And she also said that that man had blonde hair.
Yes, and the composite sketch, in my opinion, looks nothing like Ferguson and not even anything like Erickson, but definitely nothing like Ferguson.
No. And like I said, Jerry Trump said, I couldn't see him. He's an older gentleman, and he ran out after Shauna. So, she got the first look, probably first and best look. And, like you said, it all happened so fast. But she was sure she, looked him in the face when he said, "Someone's hurt out here, man," and was sure in 2 different interviews and 2 different composite sketches that composite appointments that they came up with the sketch. So she was sure about what she saw, and it was not either of the folks that end up in jail for this.
Yeah, and they both said they were tall and skinny dudes, and Ryan's 5'8" and Erickson's 5'6".
They're both around 5'6".
Yeah, they were definitely not 6 feet. The crime scene was grisly. Kent had been both beaten with an object and strangled with his own belt. Police found unidentified fingerprints on and inside of Kent's car. There was also hair that did not belong to Kent discovered in his hand. 2 sets of bloody footprints were located near the scene and led away down an alleyway towards a college dorm. Police discovered Kent's car door had been open at the time of the attack and closed after the attack. Someone had messed with documents inside his car that related to high school and college basketball programs, 2 areas of sports that Kent didn't cover. His wallet and broken glasses were inside the car, but his watch and car keys were missing.
Yeah, and it was some of his glasses were broken, and so the one lens was underneath the car, the other was inside on the seat. There was a notepad that was inside that had his blood on it, so maybe he was holding the notepad. But it's like the killer scooped stuff up and shoved it in his car. And then I guess the killer or killers, somebody eventually closed the door. From the time Shauna Ornt saw it to the time police got there, the door got closed.
Or perhaps the kids that walked up on it.
Yeah, somebody closed it.
For 2 years, Kent's murder went unsolved. Police chased down leads and interviewed witnesses, but came up empty-handed. His family, colleagues, and community grieved the inexplicable loss. Unsurprisingly, the Tribune publicized the crime, hoping to find new leads. Then, 2 years later, in October of 2003, the Tribune ran a tribute article to their fallen colleague that gave them their biggest break yet. Kent Heithold attended the University of Missouri in the 1970s, where he studied journalism. It was there he met his wife, Deborah Evangelista. The couple went on to have 2 children together, Callie and Vince. Kent went to work for the Tribune as a sports editor in 1996. Deborah said her husband loved all sports, and his colleagues at the Tribune agreed. Joe Walljasper, who took over as sports editor after Kent's death, told the Tribune,
He gravitated toward overlooked sports and gave women's sports equal attention as men's sports.
Sports reporter for the Tribune, Russ Baer, kindly described his colleague to 48 Hours.
Kent Heithold was a big, bubbly, friendly bear of a man, a good guy, very relaxed, very friendly, very laid back.
Indeed, everyone that knew Kent spoke of his kind heart, warm personality, and his genuine desire to see others succeed. Colleague Teddy Allen told the Tribune,
He got along with people because he was sincere and hardworking and an example of how to do things the right way and still have fun. He helped young writers and young wannabe writers. Heidi didn't give up on people.
The night of his murder, Kent celebrated his 5th anniversary at the Tribune.
This is definitely one of those people, everybody that talks about him has got nice things to say. He fed stray cats in the parking lot. He would mentor people who had never written a day in their lives and wanted to be writers. He's like, doors are open. I will help you. Missouri is a very famous journalism school. So, I mean, he had the best training to be a journalist and then wanted to share that with other people.
He possibly could have been at the University of Missouri at the same time as Bill and Leslie Ferguson.
Right. Yeah. Based on the timeline.
Yeah. He almost wanted to give jobs to the underdogs, to the people that didn't have a lot of experience, because he wanted to mentor them and see them come up and succeed. He had no time for egos. Everyone on his team said he didn't hover. You know, he didn't micromanage, but if you ever had a question and went to him, he always had a joke. He always had a sincere answer. He always took care of them after meeting a deadline. They all went out and he would pick up the tab, and he was just a really, really nice guy. All the pictures of him, he just looks like a big teddy bear. He's a big guy. He was 6'5", 300 pounds, which is another reason that, all of his colleagues said, you would never think Heidi would be attacked in a parking lot just because of his sheer size. Like, nobody would want to take that on.
For sure. And that late night working, and you think, I'm a big guy. I can walk to my car. It'll be okay. I can say hi to my colleague.
It's a well-lit parking lot for the most part. I mean, it's not like it's a dark lot blocks away. It's right outside the office building. They were working on a deadline, so that's why they were there so late. Yeah, you would never in a million years think this is what's about to happen to me.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think when you work that job, you're used to those like long hours and your family's kind of used to it and everything like that. But I think, lucky that the janitors happened to be there to at least see, have some sort of leads, because this was back in 2005. There's not security cameras in the lot or anything like that could catch that type of evidence. You kind of have to rely on eyewitnesses.
Which is what the prosecution did.
A little too much. Sinisterhood will be right back. This is a horrible fact I'm about to tell you about myself personally, and 9 out of 10 Americans. We suffer from some type of gut issues.
Ooh.
Gas, bloating, diarrhea, acid reflux. This is the life I have to lead, so...
Well, lucky for you, we have a good probiotic that can help you with all of that. Probiotics are supposed to be an easy way to support your gut and immune system. But according to research, 99.9% of the probiotics on the market die in your naturally harsh stomach acid before they get where they're needed.
I know that's happened to me before, but not anymore. With Just Thrive, studies have proven that Just Thrive's proprietary formula arrives 100% alive in your gut so it can do what it's designed to do.
It's vegan-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free, histamine-free, and non-GMO, and safe for just about anyone at any age, including kids and moms-to-be.
Plus, it's been loudly endorsed by some of the biggest health luminaries on the planet. So if you're looking to give your body the crucial immune and digestive support it needs so you can feel your absolute best, there's nothing like the award-winning Just Thrive probiotic.
Get 15% off when you go to justthrivehealth.com and use code CREEPY at checkout. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar.
It contains science-backed electrolyte ratios, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS.
When you sweat, you lose sodium. When sodium isn't replaced, it's common to experience muscle cramps and fatigue.
I suffer from Charlie horses in my thigh, and also I have the worst overnight calf cramps that'll just knot up in the night, and I know that I have been neglecting myself when I get that, but just swig some Element and it goes away.
There
Good
you
to
go.
go. Element is so sure you'll love their products and come back for more that they're offering you a free Element sample pack. That is 8 single-serving packets free. Just cover the cost of shipping, $5 for U.S. customers.
Get yours at drinkelement.com/creepy. This deal is not available on their regular website. You must go to drinklmnt.com/creepy.
Soft, cozy, sustainable. 3 words I don't usually use when describing my underpants, but that all changed when I tried Parade. Parade makes sustainable, creative basics so soft and comfortable that you can't wait to put them on.
This company launched only 2.5 years ago with the mission to make underwear more accessible, inclusive, and self-expressive. Since then, they've sold over 2 million pairs.
I filled that shopping cart and I got some underwear, got a long sleeve tee, got some bralettes, and
I got
it was
some
great.
PJs.
So yeah, everything's so soft and seamless. I love it. It was easy to find my size too, from extra small to triple extra large. Parade's inclusive sizing means you will have zero trouble finding that perfect bralette or pair of underwear.
And for every Parade purchase you make, they give back to organizations that support reproductive rights, racial equality, and LGBTQ plus communities.
Upgrade your top drawer with an exclusive 20% off Parade.
Go to yourparade.com/creepy and use code creepy to get 20% off. That's yourparade.com/creepy. After seeing the 2003 article in the Tribune, Charles Erickson began to question his memories from that Halloween night. Or rather, his lack of memories. Charles had experienced a drug and alcohol-related blackout. His recollection of that night was spotty. And after reading the article and seeing the composite sketch Shauna Orn had described to police, Charles worried he had been involved in Kent's murder.
And that's severe, like, blackout when you think I could have done this murder. But when he got home, he had no blood on his clothes, no blood on his hands. He had no facts or details about the crime scene, but still he had that. He became obsessed with it.
Yeah, there's to not know what you did, and then you're like, did I do the worst thing I could have possibly done? And then maybe your mind starts playing tricks on you, and you almost start to convince yourself. I mean, it is a whole thing that we'll get into in the second episode, false memory syndrome, where this can happen, you know? And it's when there's only one other person there that might know, they're going to get dragged into this pretty quick. Charles found it too coincidental that he and Ryan had been partying at a bar 1,000 feet from the location of the crime. He called Ryan to ask him if he thought he had done the unthinkable. Ryan was confused and
freaked out.
According to an interview he gave Dateline, Ryan told Charles he didn't know what he was talking about and assumed that would be the end of it. Charles, however, had begun having dreams and flashbacks of events he thought were connected to the murder. He told his friends that he had dreams that he committed the crime. At a New Year's Eve party, Charles ran into Ryan, who, once again, reassured him they were never at the crime scene. But Charles's friends weren't so sure. Worried Charles may have actually murdered Kent Heitholt, they placed a call to Crime Stoppers.
Well, and you can't really blame the friends
No,
because
no.
if you overhear one of your pals tell the other, "Are you sure we didn't murder someone? I think that I murdered someone." I mean, all you can do is go off of what you
Yeah,
heard
I mean,
and
I
go, "Oh
think that
shit."
they did the right thing,
Yeah.
but given the information, I mean, he on multiple times said, "I'm having dreams." One of the friends in Dateline is interviewed and said he told us he was dreaming. He dreamed about bits and pieces of the murder, and if someone tells you that, you wouldn't assume, oh, he's just making this up, because nobody would want to be responsible
Implicate.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't implicate yourself, but
Right.
he became. It's so bizarre that this is what set off all of these chains of events.
Yeah.
Is this one? He just became fixated on it and did not have the access to mental health resources
Right.
to go to a therapist to help him work through this and go, listen, it's impossible for the following reasons. Let's get to the root of this. All he could do was cry for help, which was essentially what was happening, and
Yeah.
that unfortunately leads to all of this.
Mm-hmm. After receiving the tip, police tested Charles and Ryan's fingerprints against prints found at the crime scene. The results showed that neither of the prints were a match. Still, Charles told 2 more friends he was concerned that he may have had something to do with the murder. Not knowing what else to do, his friends called 911. Caller,
You know the reporter at the Tribune that was murdered and no one found out who it was?
911.
Uh-huh.
Caller,
I know what happened, and I know the murderer.
this is it's I mean, there's a lot of 911 calls placed in this whole case. The 911 operator, you can hear that she's like, I'm about to get a confession from the person that did it. She just goes, uh-huh. Like,
Okay.
Yep, I know I know about that. Yeah. And what do? Go to the police station, call 911. You're just like, if I know this and I don't say something, how am I going to live with myself? Because they're assuming this is true. I mean, I haven't seen anything from those friends since then, but I imagine you're like, God damn, living with some guilt,
Well, yeah, you just say, like I said, someone comes up to you and goes, oh my gosh, like I killed someone and I totally, blocked it out and now it's coming back to me. I don't know what to do. You think, well, it's, the right thing to do. I guess it's the family's asking for answers, the police, everybody's asking for answers. And you go, I can just tell you what I know. And if this guy told me he did it, that's all I can tell you. You take the investigation the rest of the way, which they try to match it to the crime scene and it doesn't match, in which case you go, I don't know what this guy's talking about, but he didn't do it because we have physical evidence that he didn't do it. That's not what happens here. They're like, square peg, round hole, fuck it, get a hammer.
And like you said, he's crying out for help and he doesn't have the means for mental health resources. At this point, when he is repeatedly confessing to something that they have evidence that he was not a part of, you need to call in some therapists. You need to get him help. It's not just continue to interrogate him and lead him down to answers that you want to give. And get him some help. This was in 2003. Who's to say if maybe it would be different now? But it certainly wasn't then.
No.
Despite the evidence at the crime scene having cleared him as a suspect, Charles Erickson was brought in by police for questioning on March 10th, 2004. Columbia detectives John Short and Jeff Nichols proceeded to interrogate the now 19-year-old. Throughout the interrogation, Charles repeatedly said he didn't remember anything, that he had had dreams that seemed to be bits and pieces of the crime, but that he couldn't remember important details. He told them candidly at one point.
It's just so foggy, like I could just be sitting here fabricating all of it.
Still, the detectives took turns hammering away at him. When Charles couldn't provide the answers they wanted, they fed them to him. When Detective Short asked Charles if he knew what was used to strangle Kent, it was apparent Charles did not. Charles.
I think it was a shirt.
Short.
Well, I know it wasn't a shirt.
Charles.
Like maybe it was a bungee cord.
Short.
Well, we know for a fact that his belt was ripped off his pants and he was strangled with his belt.
Charles.
Really?
Short.
Does that ring a bell?
Charles.
No, not at all. I might not even know what I'm talking about. I don't know if I'm just flipping out. I'm making presumptions based on what I read in the newspaper.
These interrogations are hard to watch.
The tapes, yeah, they're taped. The videos are available on YouTube.
We will link them in the show notes as well.
Yeah, the interrogation of Charles Erickson is extremely. It's flat out worthless. They get nothing out of him that was not in the newspapers. They get nothing out of him that only the killer would know. Literally, he goes, maybe this, and they go, mm-mm. Nope. Maybe this, mm-mm. And they go, what about maybe if you just say it was this? And he goes, okay. So, I mean, it's just leading him down the primrose path. It is gross to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It is, in my opinion, based on all the facts I've read, it's an abuse of power. It's disgusting. And it leads to ruining several people's lives.
Yeah, it's when they start getting like up, he's just sitting in this chair against a wall. He looks completely shell-shocked. He's multiple times says, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just, like, I've had some dreams, in the beginning. And then by the end of it, they have convinced him that he did this. And he's saying, yeah, we were there. I was standing there and Ryan was doing this. I mean, it's just like a complete 180. And you see the progression of him going from not knowing what he's even talking about, admitting that multiple times to the police, beating him down so much and coercing him into a false confession.
And he was under the influence of drugs that day. They had reason to know that. They still hammered on him. They detained him without probable cause, especially given that, like, every statement he made about the crime was wrong. Like, it was just straight up inaccurate about how many times was the victim hit? How was the victim strangled? How was his body found? What did the car look like? What did the parking lot look like? They had no probable cause other than this guy going, I don't know, man. I just was kind of drunk that night, so I don't know. I mean, you just go like, hey, we're going to get you hooked up with like a substance use counselor to maybe figure out what's going on here, and not going, well, I'm going to just tell you stuff to say, and then you say it, and then we're going to arrest you for the thing.
Mm-hmm. Determined to get a confession out of Charles, detectives drove him to the crime scene in an attempt to jog his memory. Video footage from the police cruiser showed a confused-looking Charles on the way to their destination. He appeared to not recognize the area, even asking detectives,
where are we going? Yeah, they go, okay, where's the crime scene? And he goes, I don't know, I've never been here. And they point to the parking spot and they go, that's it. That's the crime
where
scene
his
right
car
there.
was parked. This is where the body was found. It's like, well, shit, if you're already thinking, I might be responsible for this because I've been having these memories, and then they start putting more images in your head of how it happened, one under the influence or with mental health problems might start thinking, even having those false memories of, oh yeah, you're right, I think the body was there. I mean, they're just, they're without a doubt using to their advantage the fact that this guy is struggling, and rather than get him help, they're like, we need an answer. We need to put someone behind bars for who did this. They want an arrest, and we got somebody saying that he did it, and so here we go.
And it's honestly, I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's pathetic because he over and over and over again, he goes, I don't remember. And they go, that's okay, we'll tell you. And then you can just say that you remembered it. And it's just like, that is the opposite of trying to find the truth.
Yeah.
You just go, okay, well, he says he doesn't remember. Fuck. Well, and not going, okay, walk us through what you do remember. They're like, was it a belt? Maybe you should say it was a belt. And he goes, well, I hit him one time. Well, he was hit a bunch of times. So did you maybe hit him a bunch of times?
Yeah.
And they interrogated him for several hours in a row. They kept him either confined to the room or they put him in the police cruiser. I mean, you start to get to a point where someone is nervous, scared, 19 years old. They will say whatever you want to say.
He does not have a lawyer present.
No
at
lawyer.
any time.
Not even like a friend, a mom. Can we call your family member? You want to bring a buddy down here? I mean, it is, it's rough to watch.
Yeah. And they're not so blatant to say, we're going to tell you what to say.
No.
But that is very implied by everything that they're doing. I mean, it's just shitty police where you watch it and you're like, you guys are a joke.
Yeah, try harder.
Yeah, or just like, I would be mortified if I watched those interrogation tapes back and I was those detectives.
Well, and or let their boss to go, oh, God, what did you do? And especially with the timeline, he starts saying, okay, well, we left the bar and then, all that stuff. And it's like,
none of it fits.
No. None of it fits. The puzzle doesn't fit and you're just cramming it down.
Yeah. In an effort to corroborate Charles's story, police initially interrogated Dallas Mallory on March 10th, during the time they were also interrogating Charles. Mallory was an acquaintance of Charles, and the two had been at the same Halloween party on the night of the murder. During his interrogation, Charles mentioned he and Ryan had seen Mallory in a car with two female companions stopped at a red light near the bar.
So 2 other detectives go and pick up Mallory.
And bring him in.
And
so
bring
now
him
they're
in.
each being questioned in separate rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Detectives confined Dallas to a small room and screamed at him because he would not agree with the officer's version of events, according to a civil complaint. Police nevertheless wrote in a report that Dallas saw Charles and Ryan the night of the murder, that Charles told Dallas the pair had
beat someone down,
and that Charles was holding something in his hand at the time. Police showed Charles this report containing Dallas Mallory's statement, claiming it proved Charles had done it. It was later revealed that this statement was fabricated and Mallory never made those statements to police.
Yeah, they picked up Dallas Mallory like around 10 a.m. and he's like, I've never been to that bar. I did not see Charles downtown that night. And they said, okay, well, if you're so sure, would you do a computer voice stress analysis? Those have been found to be like 50% accurate. He's like, yeah, I'll do it, which, again, get a lawyer.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I mean, they're all young. And, you
Screaming,
know,
yeah.
when you think that you're like, I know I didn't do this, so I'm just going to tell the truth and then it's going to be over with. And that's not how it happens a lot of the times. And that's why, even if you were innocent, always have a lawyer present.
For sure. And they go, okay, we're going to put you on the stress analysis machine. Did you see Ryan and Charles the night of the murder? And he says, no. He said no. He said no.
He said, I couldn't have. My license was suspended for a DUI. I didn't have a car. I wasn't even in that area that night.
And so he tells him all this, you know, quote unquote, fails the stress test that's only 50% accurate. One of the officers just writes a report that says, yep, he saw him. He said that he was fidgety, which they spelled fidgety wrong, that he had beat someone down, that he had something in his hand. They couldn't remember what he had in his hand. And then, yeah, the cops go in and go, hey, look, your friend Dallas Mallory's in the other room. And it's exactly like you said, that, you know, you were seen downtown. And this person whose brain is scrambled from that night going, oh God, well, I must have said that. He must have seen me, when it's literally was just made up.
Here's a question. If they don't present that at trial, is that legal to do in an interrogation?
Well, in this case, I would say, so you can lie during an interrogation.
Right.
And I have to look at Missouri specific law. But the problem is they fabricated police reports, and they later, like I said, they get sued civilly for it, for violating the defendant's civil rights, because you are acting under the color of law. You're acting under your duty. You also just have to ask yourself, as a citizen who pays taxes,
right,
do you want your cops to do this?
Right, yeah.
And as a police officer that says, listen, I've swore to protect and uphold the law and serve and protect, you're like, I want to find the truth. I don't want to just go make stuff up. It's just lazy police
work. It's very
work.
lazy, yeah.
And it's life-ruining for many of these people.
So if they had not actually written a police report, but they had just gone in and said, listen, we've got Mallory in the next room. He's saying he saw you with a bloody object in your hand and he talked to you. That's all legal during an interrogation.
Yeah, you're allowed to lie. Yeah, you're allowed to lie.
Man, that doesn't sit right with me.
Let me make a note. I'll look up the Missouri law on it and other laws, and we'll go over that in the next one. But yeah, off the top of my head, I believe you can just, it's fine.
Which is wild because, I mean, and this is going to sound super naive and like rose-colored glasses, but you're asking someone to tell you the truth, but you're lying to them to get them to tell you the truth. It's like a parent lying to their kid to try and get them to tell them the truth. You know what I mean?
For sure. And I think that the line kind of the line that you can't cross is fabricating evidence. So I think that's where they crossed the line here, is that they fabricated this false police report versus coming in exactly like you said and going, well, your buddy's in the next room telling us that he did see you downtown.
Even that's gross, though.
Oh, for sure. 100% it's gross.
Fed up with the lack of information Charles was providing, Detective Nichols became harsh, sitting within inches of Charles's face while raising his voice.
You better start thinking very clearly, because it's you that's on the chopping block. Am I clear to you?
The detectives assured him that Ryan was hanging him out to dry, and that if he confessed and gave up Ryan, he would receive a lighter sentence. Nichols and Short painted a picture that Ryan and Charles robbed Kent Heitholt for money after running out at the bar. Eventually, Charles acquiesced to the story. Defeated, he told the detectives,
I must have done it then.
Despite having no knowledge of the crime, but for what he read in the paper, and no physical evidence linking him to the crime scene, Charles Erickson confessed to taking part in the murder of Kent Heitholt. He told detectives Ryan was the one who actually killed Kent. Afterwards, he said the two went back to the bar to continue drinking, an act that would have been impossible given that the bar closed at 1:30 a.m. Charles was charged with second-degree murder and first-degree robbery.
And this is what I don't get, is that the timeline does not add up.
Yeah, I mean, none of it
doesn't
adds
add
up.
up. I mean, like I said, even if you go, okay, well, he could have blacked out and done it. It's like they have a rock solid alibi
Right.
that they were, especially with Ryan's cell phone calls at when they were made and when. But the story that they made up, it's like they're not even good at fabricating evidence. They're
it's
not
a
even
weak
good.
story.
Yeah, and making a fake story because they go, okay, well, here's what you did. You robbed them. You robbed them for more money to keep drinking, and then you went back to the bar. And it's like, no, ding dongs, the bar closed 40 minutes ago.
And Charles said, yeah, we went back in. The same bouncer let us in, and we kept drinking, and they subpoenaed the bouncer, and he's like, absolutely, that did not happen.
No.
We closed at 1:30, and that was it. The doors were locked. Like, no one came back. These guys left at 1:15.
And the amount of blood that it would have taken. I mean,
Oh,
Ken
dude.
Heitholt was bludgeoned, I think, 11 times with
Yeah.
a somewhat of a metal object. And you can see that there's blood splatter on the car. Whoever did this would have been face,
Covered.
head to
Yeah.
toe, shirt, arms, everything. You couldn't have just quickly done this
And been like,
ran back
let's go
to
back
the bar.
and grab a drink.
No.
No.
You would have been covered head to toe. And especially given that the footprints leading away from the scene were bloody. So at the bare minimum, their shoes were all bloody.
Right.
And it was also well past when the bar closed. So like I said, the police aren't even good at making stuff up.
No. And, by this point in the interrogation, Charles is, giving up information that obviously is false, but that he's just fabricating because he's under the influence, or at least he had been earlier in the day. He's obviously not mentally well. He's like, they're like, what did you do once you got back to the bar? He's like, well, I didn't really say much. Because I was upset what had just happened, and Ryan ordered a drink, and it's like, you're watching this, you're like, none of this happened.
He's just making it all up.
But this guy is just, saying things that are going to destroy his life. And the cops know that. They know that he did not do this.
Yeah.
And they are like, but fuck it. We need to arrest somebody. And this guy is easy pickings.
Oh, and because it was so highly publicized because he was a journalist. So his newspaper, rightfully so, is like, it's
All
been
the
2
time,
years.
yeah.
There's been no movement. You're looking like a bunch of goons that you can't catch somebody that did this. But the answer is not. The answer is we keep looking, that we don't let this go cold, that we keep pursuing leads. The answer is not shove this square peg in this round hole and go, well, whatever. We just screamed at him until he admitted it, so it's fine. It works.
Yeah, not once was the last person to see Kent alive fingerprinted or got a hair sample, stuff that in a normal investigation, something like that would probably be done. Just because you're covering all your bases. Boyd was interviewed several times. His story changed multiple times. Including what kind of car he had been driving that night and his timeline of events. But they just let that ride for 2 years and then waited for kind of it just to something to fall in their lap.
Yeah, and indeed, it wasn't even close to what fell in their lap. The time doesn't match. The forensics don't match. Nothing matches. All they found, what fell in their lap was a blank slate, and they just painted a picture on it.
You would think, seeing these tapes and knowing it all, and then going to trial, you would think that a judge would hear all of this and say, "What are y'all talking about?
Yeah,
None of
isn't
this
even
makes
close.
any sense. Just like, stop wasting my time. Why did this even come to trial?" But
What I'll say as an attorney is If you brought this evidence to me as a prosecutor, I would go, this is bullshit. I'm not taking this case.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if I was a prosecutor going, man, I'd really like to win a lot and this is really high profile, maybe I could get elected as a judge.
Mm-hmm.
I may take it. Who knows?
Yeah. As he was leaving class at Maple Woods Community College on March 10th, 2004, Ryan Ferguson was surrounded by a SWAT team, arrested, and brought into custody. Throughout his interrogation, Ryan maintained his innocence. He was adamant he had nothing to do with the crime. Multiple times, he called out the detective questioning him.
You're trying to get me to admit to something I didn't do. I didn't do it.
The detective continued to needle Ryan, proposing different scenarios for why he may have wanted to murder Kent. Ryan never wavered. Ryan.
I'm innocent.
Detective.
Okay, so you're innocent of killing this guy?
Ryan.
I'm innocent of even being there.
So many times they try and trip him up with the way they're asking things like, okay, so you're innocent of killing the guy, like implying we can catch you in a lie that you were there though and witnessed it, and maybe Charles and Ryan, he sees through, which is quite honestly a testament to how smart he is, because when you are just being mind fucked for that many hours and you're 19 years old, to be able to consistently see through all of that and say, I know what you guys are trying to do. I know you're trying to get me to admit something I didn't do, and I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And like, well, what if you could make this easier on yourself? And he goes, but you're saying the only way to do that is to admit to something I didn't do, and I'm not going to do that. He doesn't go, well, yeah, I'd love this to be easier on myself. You know, like all those little things that then they're like, that's what we wanted you to say. So now we can say, well, why do you want it to be easier on yourself? Are you feeling guilty of something? He like doesn't fall into any of their traps.
It's like you said, it's extremely impressive, especially for a 19-year-old. And he said when they arrested him, he thought, okay, well, you know, I got to study for my final, so maybe I'll be home by the end of the day. Then I can start studying again. You don't ever think, oh, I'm going to go in, protest my innocence, and they're still going to arrest me based on a bunch of made up stuff. But, you know, you get raised by a family with integrity that says, you know, don't lie, don't tell, you know, if the police ask you a question, tell them the truth. And he just sits there and tells them the truth over and over and over again. And they don't like that answer.
No. Ryan's pleas of innocence went unheard. He was charged with first-degree murder and first-degree robbery. His bond was set for $20 million, the highest bond set for any defendant since prosecutor Kevin Crane had joined the office in 1990. Bill Ferguson told documentarians that upon the judge's determination of bail,
an audible gasp
was heard throughout the courtroom.
Yeah, and Bill didn't find out he got arrested until a journalist showed up at his doorstep and said, do you have any comments on your son being arrested? And Bill said, what? And the journalist goes, oh, no, you don't know.
And Leslie got a call from a friend, and she said, no, this has to be a different Ryan. There's no way that this could happen. And then they're like, no, this is our worst nightmare. I mean, I don't even know if it is your worst nightmare, but you don't normally think this could be our worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're going to be in denial. And also, Ryan Ferguson's a pretty common name. Like, she's not wrong to go, oh, well, it could be a different one. This, I think, is the $20 million bond is the first piece of evidence I have, in my opinion, that this was a dick swing for this prosecutor.
Yeah.
That it was a show off. If you watch trial footage, the dramatic flair way that he does the trial, all the comments he made in the media, the fact that it was highly publicized, the fact that there was no fucking evidence, and they still did it. But setting a $20 million bond for a little 19-year-old kid who's like no criminal, you know, he's
no
like,
criminal record. Yeah.
No. And it's just a way to go, we've caught a criminal mastermind. It's so dramatic. It's so pathetic.
It's going to make headlines.
It's
I mean,
so pathetic,
it's just a splashy thing to do.
Oh, for sure. That's a great way to put it. It was splashy.
Ryan's trial opened on October 17, 2005. Prosecutor Kevin Crane admitted in his opening statement that there was no physical evidence connecting Ryan to the murder. DNA from the scene was not a match to either Ryan or Charles. The bloody footwear impressions did not match either Ryan or Charles's shoe sizes. The fingerprints at the scene did not belong to Ryan or Charles. Crane's case hinged entirely on two eyewitnesses, and one of those eyewitnesses had only seen the crime scene in his dreams. If you have information relating to the murder of Kent Heitholt, please contact the Columbia, Missouri Crime Stoppers at 875-TIPS or 573-875-8477. You can also go to 875tips.com. So what do we think?
Whew. Yeah, it's a situation where I think somebody had substance use issues, mental health problems, and rather than getting the treatment that they needed, they were just kicked into the criminal justice system.
Taken advantage of
Wait,
is an
the
understatement.
What I've thought, I mean, let's go from the human perspective, starting with the victim. Family gets denied justice. They think they get justice. Turns out it's a denial of justice. They're drug through a trial that we'll go through in the next one that for the person that didn't even do it. Ryan Ferguson's family, again, Charles Erickson, Ryan and Charles spend time in jail. Their families too. But if you think, and so that's the emotional impact of that. You have a community that thinks that something's resolved that isn't. The emotional impact of you have to now know that the police department in your town is full of people willing to do this, or at least these officers at issue were willing to do this. The prosecutor was willing to do this. From a fiscal perspective, the millions of dollars that were wasted of taxpayer time, money, resources, the jury's time that was everybody's time was wasted. Like I said, I think the human impact is the worst, but I am fired up right now when you think about, because I think it's not a political issue of going like, well, I'm pro police or pro. We should all be pro justice. We should all be pro responsibility, and this is an extremely irresponsible use of my taxpayer resources, and also it undermines the trust that the public has in the system, and it's disgusting. This whole case gets me fired up. I cried throughout the Dream Killer documentary on Netflix because, I was so sad. And then after going over that, I just got pissed off. I'm just so mad. Every time I think about criminal justice reform, I don't think it's like, oh, we need to take money away. No, it just needs to be allocated in proper places and also safeguards in place, because there's no bigger waste of money than what amounts to later a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against a city who did a bunch of stuff willfully, knowing it wasn't even negligent. It wasn't even like, oh, well, we accident. They intentionally falsified documents. They intentionally took a case that was a house of cards. I mean, you blow it over. They hid evidence in violation of the Constitution. So I'm like, as a flag-waving American, you know what? This pisses me off. This pisses me off because we have a Constitution, we have protections, we have systems that should work, that in this case you go, or was it kind of set up that way to just go, it's a pipeline, that somebody has a substance use problem and a mental health problem and their ass just gets kicked straight to jail instead of taken care of. I'll get off my soapbox now, but I'm fired up.
No, I mean, I agree with everything you said. And then just by being guilty by association, and you just happen to give somebody a ride that night, and then your name 2 years later, who's thinking about what they did on Halloween 2 years later? And then all of a sudden this comes out and you're like, what are you talking about? And next thing you know, you're in jail for it?
Yeah, just because somebody is struggling and doesn't have the resources to get the help that they need. That you just leave them to the wolves.
It's watching the interrogation tapes got me real fired up. I mean, it's the body language of these detectives. It's just so gross, and it's so textbook how to play good cop, bad cop, and it's like, guys, have some dignity. Like, you look, act like you've been there before. Like, they just look inexperienced. It's just very cringy. He's just sitting back, like, the cop's just sitting back in his chair, like, waving his legs like a toddler. His feet aren't even reaching the ground. And he's just, like, well, I mean, we all have done things that we're not proud of, so, I can't fault you for that. Like, trying to be their friend, be the good guy. Ryan's like, I get that. And I've done things in my life that I regret, that I didn't want to admit to, but this is not one of them. I have nothing to do with this. And he's frustrated. He's like, man, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, I had nothing to do with this. You guys want me to say I did. I didn't. And it's just, I wonder if at any point that detective thinks to himself, you know what, maybe he didn't do it. And maybe I am wrong. And maybe I should take a step back and leave this room and go, talk to someone about this. Or if they're so up their own asses that they're going to get a conviction and get a confession that they're blind to what's really going on.
Yeah, and you lie to yourself. Well, it's interesting in going through, wrongful conviction cases, and that is definitely like a passion project of mine that I, like read books or follow. You can get emails from the Innocence Project. Always a shout out for them. Donate to them, get emails from them. You see in some cases that's the case where they go, I'm so invested. The detective says, I'm so invested in this. I'm going to falsify evidence. I'm going to fabricate things and whatever. And then you go to the prosecutor and they go, yeah, there's a lot of holes in this. Is Swiss cheese. I can't take this to a court. Do better. Then in other cases, you see where the cops go, well, this person confessed, but boy, here's about 15 reasons why they probably didn't do it. Here's the case. And the prosecutor does what they're supposed to do constitutionally and sometimes under state law and goes, okay, well, we'll take the case, but I'm going to turn all this exculpatory evidence over to the defense so they have a chance at at a fair trial. And we'll see. In this case, both of the worst things happened. I think you had the cops that were wanting to, they were blinded by their own egos and wanted to just do what they had to do, falsifying documents when we later find out, according to the civil complaint. Then you also have a prosecutor that instead of going, wow, there's a lot of holes in this. I don't think I can make this fly. Going, I'll cram it in there. We'll figure it out. I'll do it
beer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He goes, let me just give this guy acting lessons and we'll just put on a show for him, which is exactly what happens in the trial. And so I think what you have two failures here where I think what we would hope in that Brady continuing education class I sat through that was put on by the police chiefs organization, every single officer that was presenting in that, one of them was the gentleman who had wrongfully convicted a guy based on an eyewitness, and he deeply regretted it, and he's now become friends. That could be a case we could do. He's now become, not quite friends, but I mean the acquaintances, and they do speaking engagements together, also with the victim who wrongfully identified this gentleman, and he talks about the failures that they had as a police department, that he felt really guilty about it, and it was kind of a cautionary tale of, here's how to be better at your investigation, because in this case, I mean, and in every wrongful conviction case, he kind of puts it that way. I failed the victim, and I failed this woman who I told her, you're safe now. The person that did this to you is behind bars, and that was a lie. And I live with that regret.
That's a great way to, not right a wrong, but at least turn that wrong into a teaching tool and, a cautionary tale for others, and say, I can't undo what I did, but I'm going to try and help it not happen again for other people.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what he said. He goes, when your phone rings and it's Barry Scheck, who started the Innocence Project, you kind of, your stomach drops and you think, oh God, what happened? What have I done? Because he goes, we never want to put the wrong person behind bars. And I have full faith that this, I think he was Richardson, which is a suburb of Texas police officer, and is now chief of another location. So it's he's a good one. He's like, I really didn't want to do this. And so if every cop was like him, or every cop's like Art Acevedo, where they go, the purpose is the truth. But what you have is these failures in the system where what should have happened was you have these cops that are doing their job badly. And they're just doing what they have to do to get this conviction because it's in the newspaper, and maybe they want to get they want the arrest so that they can get a promotion or whatever, which I don't think that's the vast majority of police, but it's definitely, we're all, a lot of us are all pushed by our own ego. Well, the check on that then should be, you have a prosecutor go, no, there's holes in this case.
Yeah, there were no checks and balances. The checks and balances that are set up for this kind of stuff failed hard.
Yeah, and then you turn it to, and I have friends who are police officers. I have friends who are prosecutors. It's part of being a lawyer. And I would say I know they would never do that. They would never falsify evidence. Or the DAs I know would go, this is bullshit. There's holes in this case. But in this case,
I would be embarrassed to take this
it's
to
embarrassing.
Trial. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. When I was working on one of my Innocence Project cases was it wasn't a case, but it was a research project of how do you figure out what to do when you find out a prosecutor has either withheld evidence or falsified evidence. And I texted a friend of mine and said, hey, this is a weird question, but what would you think would be something we could charge a prosecutor under, or what would be like a good cause of action? I'm asking to prosecute a prosecutor, and they, intentionally not gendering them, they said, get them. Here's some ideas. Go get them. They make my profession look bad. I'm really proud of the job that I have. I'm proud of what I do. And they make the job that I have, they tarnish the job that I do. And it's like, when you have people that go, one prosecutor can do better than 100 defense attorneys because they just don't bring the charges. If Kevin Crane just didn't bring the charges and go, this is bullshit, we wouldn't be here. Ryan Ferguson wouldn't have lost so many years of his life. Charles Arison wouldn't have lost so many years of his life. And maybe the cops would have turned their brain to finding the right people, and Kent Heithold's family would have a better answer than they do now.
Yeah. It's, I I can't say it any better than you did. It's just
Fired up.
It's fucked all the way around. That's my summation.
You know what?
Summation of it all. Yeah, and the biggest time lost is a decade of someone's life in prison, and somebody else that's still in prison for this, and also that there is still someone that brutally murdered an innocent man just walking around,
Just out free.
just doing whatever. Yeah.
Horrifying.
Yeah, it's truly horrifying. It's just unfathomable. You watch these things, these documentaries, and you think, God damn, this happens a lot too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This is one that we happen to have heard about. That,
Yes,
like
right?
I said, Ryan Ferguson is very privileged to have a father who had the resources to fight for him, to have the resources to spread his message. It just so happens it gets picked up by national media. It just so happens that a famous exoneration attorney happens to see it, and the thousands and thousands and thousands of applications that come into not just the Innocence Project, but tons of other exoneration and organizations every year. Just like you kind of go, well, everybody's going to say they're innocent or whatever, but I think the estimation is something as high as 2% of people are wrongfully convicted. Which sounds low, but I'm like 0% of people should be wrongfully
I mean,
convicted.
it's not low when
Any
there's
amount.
millions of people in the prison
And
system.
that's exactly what it is. Yeah, when you do the numbers, that's a ton of people,
Yeah.
and not enough resources. So that's why it's important to have conviction integrity units and know who your DA is and make sure. You text me the other day. You're like, hey, we were talking about like there's going to be the election for the district attorney is coming up, and we were talking about pros and cons of different candidates and everything. So being keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on, and your city, usually it's like your council elects a police chief, and making sure you know who your council person is, what their feelings are. So I think we get kind of, I get, you kind of go, okay, what's the big picture? We need to do sweeping reforms.
Right.
But a ton of this stuff, absent like a Supreme Court case that says, okay, well, you can't, you have to turn over exculpatory evidence, which is Brady, which was like a 1960s Supreme Court case. But a lot of everything else is piecemeal. It's local and it's state. And so getting involved and knowing and making sure your politics or your wants for the system, how you think it should be, kind of aligns with who's in charge.
Yeah.
But fucked all around. You nailed it.
Yeah,
nailed
well,
it.
we will get into the fucked all around trial, plural, and appeals and all sorts of stuff in the next episode.
It's wild.
Well, we have got some improv shows coming up that
I'm
if
so excited.
you want to come see us do some stuff on a stage instead of just listen to us talk behind a mic, here is your opportunity.
Yeah, and I promise I will not rant to you about turning the system around.
That's not true. I'm going to tear up in a scene. I'm going to get her going so you can all hear it again.
I try not to play attorneys in every scene, but sometimes people will be like, okay, I need to get a divorce. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to be your lawyer. Todd Anderton is particularly loves to talk about either Mesquite or me being an attorney. But you can come see The Cult. Hey, it's me and another attorney, Raymond Fisher,
yeah.
as well as Christy, Tommy, Jade, Nick Scott. It's quite a lineup. We love The Cult. Those are my favorite shows ever. And we are playing February 25th at 7:30. We're also playing the same time slot as Gerald, another very funny troupe. And then that same night at 9 p.m., Christy and I are in Hot Dish. Mix them up with all kinds of funny people from the Dallas comedy community. Those are all at Dallas Comedy Club. And also, Christy, I'm very excited. March 10th at 9 p.m. What are you doing?
So I have always wanted to do this show, this idea of a show, and our friend Kate Grogan put this show called People Presenting Things together at DCC, and other comedians have created PowerPoints and slideshows, and then some of us, for the first time ever, will be seeing on stage an assigned PowerPoint or slideshow to us that we then just have to improvise and make up for a couple minutes on the spot, like what is going on. This kind of show has been around for a while, and I've always thought it would be very fun to do. And so when she asked if I want to do it, I said, of course. So March 10th, 9 p.m., come watch me just scramble to act like I'm an expert at something that's probably just a bunch of pictures of like ducks or some shit. I don't know. The call was put out. Do you want to make the slideshow? Do you want to be a presenter? Or do you want to do both? I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not the best at like PowerPoint, like putting together like technology type stuff. So I said, you know what, I'll just riff on it. But I'm excited to see what fellow comedian did put something together that I can make some jokes about. You're giving me a look. Was it you?
Maybe. No, I haven't yet, but I'm
Okay.
going to message Kate Grogan after this and ask her if I can make you a PowerPoint.
Oh man, if
I
they
wonder if she'd let
haven't,
me.
if it hasn't already been decided, I'm sure it hasn't because it's in March. I couldn't do the one in February because we have Hallmark After Dark.
Oh,
so
yes.
ask her if you can do the one for the one in March. Oh my gosh.
See if I think of something
And
that,
then you can come watch, and then everyone can
for
come
sure.
watch How Heather Tried to Stump Me.
I'm trying to think of all the things you've told me, like, I don't understand this, or I hate this.
Anything
and
with
I'm like,
geography, I
feel like
fucked.
Jim when he's like, I know what Pam likes, but more importantly, I know what she hates.
Yes.
So that'll be fun. We'll see if we can do that.
World.
Stop saying Worldle.
Wordle is something we're all playing, but Worldle is one that is like Wordle, but it's just geography. It is so effing hard.
I got nothing, man. I'm so bad at that.
It's so hard, and I laughed out loud at myself at how bad I was doing the other night. So yeah, anything geography or science related, it's going to be a lot of just made up bullshit. But yeah, I couldn't do the one in February because of Hallmark After Dark, which is
That's
a very
right.
fun thing we have coming up in just a couple days.
Yeah, after you're going to listen to this on Wednesday, February 9th, and tomorrow, so Thursday, February 10th, you got to come hang out with us on Crowdcast. We're doing a Valentine's movie and kind of Mystery Science Theater 3000 kind of riff on it. We did it at Christmas with The Spirit of Christmas, which was about a lady who makes love to a ghost.
So great.
We'll see what this one's about. We picked it based just on the log line. So we watched part of the trailer and stopped and thought, you know what, we're going to save it all. So we haven't seen
So
it.
good.
We've only read the quick log line of the movie. So yeah, that would be February 10th at 8 p.m. Central. And if you're listening to this after February 10th, no worries. It's available on demand. So go to Patreon and you can check it out on demand. Someone said they listened to the December one as like a way to unwind. They're like, I just turn on the old Hallmark After Dark and listen to it. And I'm like, I love that. That's so nice.
We also got the docuary discussions going on
So excited.
in February. Every Friday at 12:30 Central Time, we live stream and just an open discussion of a documentary we watched that week. The documentaries are listed on our Patreon. Last week was Hands on a Hard Body, which I'm still thinking about.
Yeah.
So good. Did not disappoint. This week it is Minding the Gap, which I've also heard great things about. I'm going to be watching it tomorrow night. So
I'm
I'm
excited.
very excited about that. Yeah. But
And
we've
it's
got
on
a lot of
Hulu.
fun
I found
things.
it. I found it on Hulu.
Nice.
So
It's on
the Hands
Hulu.
on the Hard Body, I was at brunch and I told Megan and Darby, a friend of ours, and I said, oh yeah, it's Hands on a Hard Body. And Darby goes, that was my bucket list. She said, I wanted to do that contest so bad.
wow.
I said,
Well-
well, go check it out. The documentary is great. And so you can watch Hands on a Hard Body and then go back and watch.
Might not want to do it after you watch the documentary. Might not want to compete in that.
No, yeah, I would say watch it
Brutal.
and you see it goes very wrong. But
Yeah.
watch Hands on a Hard Body, then you go to the Patreon and you can watch the archive of our documentary discussion and then participate this week. So we got those every Friday in February at 12:30 Central.
What, Heather, do we have coming up in March on Fridays?
Oh my goodness. We should have done this at the top of the show.
I was thinking we should have earlier.
We are going to do Freaky Friday. We're going to just start doing Freaky Friday. Every Friday, we're going to just read letters from you. Folks send us stuff in. They tell us about when they've seen a ghost or had sleep paralysis and something standing at the end of their bed. They've had a brush with true crime. They've had an alien encounter.
Seen UFOs, yeah.
You've seen UFOs, something deja vu, psychic. You had some sort of incident that occurred. Anything freaky. We want to hear about it on Freaky Friday. If you, for instance, if you switch souls with Jamie Lee Curtis and, you
Oh, yeah.
that was, that's going to be something we want to hear about. So we have a form, sinisterhood.com/Freaky Friday. It gives you some info on there about kind of like what we're looking for. There's a drop down menu. Give us your name, your pronouns, and type out kind of what's happened. And then we'll get on here and read it and talk about it because we've just gotten so many great stories. And I think kicking it off is the story from the greatest storyteller of all, one of our absolute favorite human beings, George Brown. So
Yes.
tune in February. I'm sorry, March. Tune
yes.
in March.
Yes. Yes, it will drop on our main feed on March. So that will be available to everybody. We're super pumped to be doing that. We love providing Sinisterhood to you at no cost, so if you like what you hear, consider supporting the show by donating to our Patreon. We're a small operation, creating this show for you by researching, writing, recording, and producing it ourselves. Any amount is sincerely appreciated and helps offset the cost of making and hosting the show.
As a thank you, you also get some sweet perks like ad-free episodes, a Sinisterhood sticker that we send you. We draw a ghost on the back. It is from us directly. Membership to our exclusive Patreon Facebook group for those enrolling the airwaves and getting into it tier. Special shout out on the show. Monthly bonus mini-sode. This last one was Havana Syndrome. The next one coming up is going to be about some funeral home drama in the Dallas area that's wild. 17 lawsuits, crazy stuff. And you also get patron-exclusive video and audio content. We do Judge Christie, Am I the Asshole, Relationship Advice, Dear Sinister, Wed It, Unpopular Opinions. The list goes on.
We have a lot of segments we do.
Yeah,
a lot. There's a lot of variety on. You know what? I'm biased, but I think we have a great Patreon.
I think we do because, and it luckily benefits everybody else, but we're like, well, we're bored with that. Let's do another thing.
Yeah.
And then we go, well, let's do another thing. We like to continue to create and come up with new things. And then folks will go, what about that other thing from before? And we're like, we'll put it back in the rotation.
Yeah.
So we'll listen. If you're like, hey, we missed this segment, we'll go back and do it.
Yeah.
It's fine. We're into it. We also are obsessed with our new Crowdcast platform and live stream now all the time.
Yes.
We do the monthly live Q&As on Crowdcast. We do our monthly bonus content where instead of just recording it, we live stream it to you. That's on Crowdcast. We're doing Hallmark After Dark where we joke about the movie on Crowdcast and docuary. You just got to look it all up. There's too much for us to tell you right now. We just got a lot going on.
It is a lot. You also have the fun perk of access to our Discord server, where you can connect with other fans in real time and discuss the latest in true crime, share personal ghost stories, or just post adorable pictures of your pets. We'll also hop on occasionally, and like Heather said, we host monthly Q&As where you can ask us all your burning questions.
For patrons not in the U.S., you now have the option to pay in pounds or euros, saving you the cost of the conversion fee. Annual memberships for all tiers are also now available, and you should select this option because it's better because you get a free month of membership.
It's very smart. For more details on all of this and specific member tiers, visit Sinisterhood.com and click Patreon on the top banner. And make sure you stick around after our sign-offs to hear your shout-out and our thank you corner.
So many of you have been tagging us in pictures of you sporting your sweet Sinisterhood merch. Keep those pictures coming. I love the racerback tanks I got, and they were featured on BuzzFeed's top things you need if you're a grown-up goth. I'm not, but if you are, you and I can be twinsies in our racerback tanks. If you want to get some cool Sinisterhood swag like t-shirts, mugs, totes, and even clothes for your kiddos, visit Sinisterhood.com and click shop in the top banner.
The best thing you can do to help us grow is like, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And please tell a friend who you think would like us to check us out. It means so much to us and really helps podcasts like us get more exposure.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at SinisterhoodPod and like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. Christy, where can they find you on Twitter and where can they find that adorable picture of Petal in the snowstorm?
I'm on Twitter at Christy or GTFO. I rarely tweet. I always am like, you know what? I should tweet more. And then I just don't.
It means you have to get on Twitter and like, come on now.
And then that's the whole thing. But yeah, we recently had an ice storm and Petal, when she can't go outside and it's cold, she nests. And her idea of nesting is quite destructive. Yeah. So you can see that picture at Christy M. Wallace. Heather, what about you?
I am on Twitter. I tweet sometimes, rarely, at MCK versus the world, and on Instagram at Heather versus the world.
Have you posted any pictures of how you nest?
Yes,
how do you
I do.
nest?
Well,
do you rip up your bed and just lay amongst the fluff? Because that's what Petal does.
Oh my gosh, I do.
Well, you and Petal, like you've said before, you have a lot in common.
We're a lot in common. My Instagram is entirely, it's like every other picture is Paris or the dogs. So that's pretty much
there
it.
you go. There you go. I mean, mine are all my kids or my pets. So, and occasionally I'll throw in a picture of myself or you, my favorite things.
Yeah,
and
same.
I actually have decided I'm going to start doing something on Mondays.
Oh, I love this.
So
tune in.
I'm not going to put a timeline on it because I've been thinking about this for months and I haven't done it. So maybe I should give myself a timeline because then that will make me do it. I have, as you know, I collect tarot cards. I have probably like 10 decks. Mm-hmm. So I've decided I'm going to start doing Mystic Mondays.
Love it.
Where I'm going to start doing some tarot posts because one of my 2020 resolution, or what year are we in? Christ
2022.
almighty. It's been 2020 for 2 years. 2022 resolution was to hone my psychic and witchcraft abilities, which when I said this around Paris, he goes, fuck yeah. That's not a resolution you hear from many people. That's awesome. I was like, thank you.
Now you know the supportive environment that I live in every day.
Paris is the most supportive. He's great. So I'm to help myself with that. I was like, I got some really badass tarot decks that I bet people would like to see, and then I can also help myself. So look for that at some point. Yeah, look for that.
I'm into it. I'm into it.
Yeah. As always, the devil rules the airwaves.
Keep it creepy. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for supporting the show on Patreon. Here are your special Patreon shout-outs. Sarah Kuntz,
Jennifer Krawweek,
Aditya Romanowitz,
Leanne Gloss-Vighetti,
Lindsay Witt,
Megan Stanford,
Brittany Luckett,
Nicole Rich,
Colleen E.,
Bobby Chapman,
Alyssa Birchfield,
Robin,
Mary Robles,
Shannon Marie,
Beth Francis,
Brittany Beckworth,
Amanda Chapman,
Sydney Gleisner,
Alan,
Marley Allen,
Megan,
Mars Swanson,
Sadie Westfall,
Seda Stearns,
Dana Helbert,
Kala Byrne,
Ashley Newhouser,
Samantha Marie Wari.
Salvador Rodriguez.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. We couldn't do this without you. We hope we said your names correctly. We appreciate you so much. We also appreciate Emily Smith.
Yes, this is our thank you corner. I cracked open the old P.O. box and found a lovely box inside of it, and we got a Chupacabra book for the kids.
It's
Did they love it?
cute. It's the same author and illustrator that did the Monster ABCs, the Krampus kids book, and now this one is Chupacabra. It's called Please Don't Eat Me, Chupacabra, and it is very funny. And it's also in English and Spanish, so I'm reading it to them in Spanish so they get some education, and it's Ella requests it every night, so it's very cute. Thank you so much, Emily.
And also inside the same box was a bag of Bunch of Crunch, which we talked about, and she wished me a lovely bridal shower, and so I truly appreciate it. I've been snacking on the Bunch and Crunch here and there. It's great. It has a resealable top, so I could have some, put it back, have some, put it back.
Nice.
Sometimes just have some. So thank you so much, Emily. We really appreciate it. It was very lovely.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep it creepy.
Mwah.
Sinister.